Hello, Derek here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. A little, hopefully not too long, tutorial regarding a tool in Photoshop that it's probably one that you don't use very often, but it's there to be used, and it is definitely something that can help improve your finished product. This photo here, which I've made no alterations to whatsoever, straight out of the camera, and as you can see, it's fairly distorted in a couple of ways. It was taken with a 1740 wide angle zoom lens, a Canon 1740L lens, and it was taken at 17mm. Now, anyone who's used a wide angle lens will know that when you take it wide open like that, your vertical upright are going to suffer. Now, I happen to be standing in a bit of an awkward sort of stance, and that's why my horizons is equally as bad and squint. So we're going to try and straighten this image up and then fix it and see what we can do to make it a kind of savable image. It was taken a couple of days after a wedding I shot. The wedding was on a particularly drizzly grey day, and yep, I went back a couple of days later and took this when the sun was out. Unfortunately, there's scaffolding just to my right hand side here, so I was kind of limited as to how far I could go that way. I'm just inside a couple of big iron gates, so I couldn't walk back any further. And so what we've got is what we've got. Could have been a bit straighter horizon wise, but yep, not to worry about that. So straight out the bat, we're coming into Photoshop, and there's lots of little things. Looking at the image, you say, well, I could get rid of this bit up here, and this branch here is distracting, and there's a little bit of darkness in the corners because the lens was so wide. You get a bit of a vignette, but these things, we can forget about them just now. The most important thing to be fixed in this image is the distortion in the uprights on this building. Again, because it was at 17mm, and that's kind of what you've got to deal with after. So the first thing I'm doing here is making a copy of the layer. When you open Photoshop up, it opens up into a background layer. I'm making a copy so that if I've done alterations that I don't like, I can go back to this background layer copy. Right, the first thing I'm going to do is go into my crop tool, and I'm not just going to, the thing we thought we're just going to crop into here and then or there or somewhere, and we can crop into here, and that's got already part of the branch. It's not dealt with that, and we could maybe turn it a wee bit and we can straighten some of it up that way. And while that may well work for the horizon, it's not going to work. The horizon line's a little bit straighter. It's not going to help when it comes to the vertical distortion. We'll have to tackle that first. So a lot of people don't use this tool, possibly because they don't know it's there, possibly just because they're not sure how to use it. And it's called the Perspective Crop Tool. I think it came in probably the first versions of CC. I'm not sure if it was there in older versions of Photoshop. And there's different ways to do this without using a crop tool. I prefer this one. We could go and try and use, I'll show you an alternative method later on, but first things first, yeah, they can go on and make 4 points and just make them. What I suggest you do with your 4 points is if we just delete that just now, is try and keep to one straight line. Don't try and keep to all your straight lines. I'm going to try and keep to this horizon line here as being my straight horizon, and vertically I'm going to keep to this side as well. And what I mean by this is, so here's my first one here. I'm going to crop it as wide as I can because we'll have some other work to do after we're finished with this. So we'll crop it here, so there's one click, and again I'm trying to keep a general line with this horizon. It's not too far off it there, so we'll second click here, and don't worry if you're not kind of totally getting these lines yet, because we can move every one of them individually after we've made their selection here. And on this one here, before I click, on screen that on the left hand side of the church tower here, there is, there's a marker there, and it's a fairly close to that upright, and that's quite a good one to use. So that's me got my 4 points in, if you like. We can now pull or push every one of these that we want. Now if you have a look at my horizon line here, which I was trying to keep straight, you'll see that it's off by quite some. And there's also a horizon line here that I'm trying to keep in mind, because this path here into the church, there's actually a step here and there's not a step here, so this is probably on a bit of a slope anyway, this pavement, which we'll try and bear in mind. So I'm going to come down with that and just try and get this horizon line here that I'm looking at against this one here, try and keep that straight. Now we'll leave that one there just now, and this one here we can come down a bit. I'm just trying to look for any straight anywhere within this, and I'm seeing that there's a line here that's fairly straight to that window. We're not too bad on this side of the building, and now I'm trying to look at this path with this one. It's still quite high there, so I'm going to pull this down here a bit. And when you've got 2 or 3 selections made, hit enter or click on this tick and see what Photoshop does. And sometimes you have to do this 3 or 4 times before you get it right. Now, in terms of the horizons here, that's not too bad. But it's kind of squashed it in a bit, so let's just undo that and we'll go back again. So you're going to have to do 3 or 4 times. Try and stay away from your building if you can, because you're going to have other work at the end of it, but as best as you can, stay away from your building. And stay as wide as you can to the edge of the picture as well if you can. So we're back to this stage here, so we're going to pull this one in a bit. Goes to the side there, and this one here, we're actually not too bad with that one, but we're way off of the vertical, so we'll pull this one down a little bit more, just a straight down. We're still not bad with that, and we'll pull this one down a wee bit to there, and a little bit to there, and again we'll try that. And that's not bad at that, I think. So that's has got rid of the worst of the distortion. I'm still not sure about, I mean, that there horizon wise, if I pull down if we go to view and we go down to rulers, it's already ticked. I can now drag from here down. So I'm clicking just in this little section here. If I just click here, left click and hold it down at the mouse and pull down, I'm going to pull down a line like that. And as you can see, just on top of the church, that's pretty straight. So the vertical line that I was looking for to straighten up is straight. I'm quite happy with that. But if we come down to here, there's a step, come down to the bottom of the step there. You know what? It's not too bad. I'm quite happy with that. There's a little alteration we can make further down the line, so I'm just going to leave that at that for now. Now, this bit here I want to get rid of. Couple of ways to do it. In Photoshop, there's always more ways to do things than you can imagine. Let's just use the spot healing tool. The spot healing tool, this one here, you've got healing brush tool or the spot healing brush. I'm going to use let's use healing brush tool first. Healing brush tool requires you to take a sample, so you hold down the Alt key on your keyboard, take a sample, and then essentially just paint over what you want to get rid of. And it does a pretty good job. And again, take another sample, and what this does, it it says you're sampling from here, the colour, etc. And when we paint over there, we're going to try and retain the texture surrounding everything you painted over, and it does a pretty good job. And we'll have a look at a before and after shortly. So quite happy with that. Having a quick look around the ground. This is where you'll find crisp bags or any manner of things lying about. This is the time to get rid of it. I'm not seeing anything there just now that give me any concern. So what I'm going to go and do now is go into this here, the camera raw module. That was the module we first opened up when we opened the picture up. So if we go into here, filter, camera raw filter, and it takes us back into here. Now I'm quite happy with the horizontal here, and there's just a little bit perspective here, distortion, sorry, and just a little bit. I've still got options to crop in. I could crop and make it better. Excuse me. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to come to this tool here. Sorry, this one here, which is lens corrections, and there's a couple of sliders here, a few sliders. We can use it to do a lot of things. And this one here, the rotate one, is what I'm going to look at. And I'm just going to click on the dot to make it active. Click on the slider just to make it active. And if double click here, it'll send it back to 0. So I'm just going to use the rotate. Again, I'm clicking on this, so that's highlighted. And if I use the up arrows on my keyboard, or the right or left, you can see I'm just using up and down. And I'm just trying to see what one is the best, and I'm making just a tiny little bit of alteration here, and it's just going to make it that little bit more believable. Again, I'm looking mainly here at this path. Yeah, and it's really that small. And we can also have a look at the verticals distortion in here, and we can do that, and it gives you a bit more of that. And again, very small alteration, but I think that looks more likely. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So now we're coming back to here, and this is the kind of front page of your camera raw, if you like. And this is where I like to do most of my colour adjustments in all the photo. I may go back and do some in the layers if there's one particular colour giving me cause for annoyance or concern. So one thing we've got beautiful blue sky here. We've got some. There's nothing blown out at all in this picture. There's no highlights. There's no. If we did that there, you see overexposed bit. That means when you've got this line hitting the top here, like so, it means where these wee red bits are, we've lost detail. There's no part of this picture is lost detail in either the darks or in the lights. But I'm just going to pull my highlights back just a little, and that just gives you a nice. If you have a look at the clouds in the sky, you'll see that all the details coming back into them. And I'm just going to push the shadows up a little bit, not too much, just a little. So we've got a bit more saturation and colour there. Now for the colour in the sky and the greens and some of the reds, the vibrance slider is fantastic. I'll overdo it, and then I'll put it back to where you need it. You know, and that's overdone. You can really have a picture postcard look if you want. Used correctly, just a little bit, it can bring, I think probably 25 is where I kind of tend to go with blue skies. You never want to overdo it, but there's lovely blue, there's lovely whites. That's the leaves are kind of coming back quite well. The reds aren't coming back as much as we'd want them, so we'll go into this panel here, HSL grayscale, into saturation, and I'm just going to zoom in a little to about there. So I've got both the doors in, because I wanted the doors to be just that bit more red, and that's some completely red, and that's some completely faded. So maybe 25 again is a good kind of number. And we've got the greens and yellows. and oranges. Let's push oranges up a wee bit. Again, we don't want to go too much with that. 20, 25 is good. And in fact, if I'm going 25 with that, I'll take that down to about 20. We'll add some yellow a little bit, not too much. Maybe 10, and again with the greens, add a little bit there. Now when we come back to here, we can then worry about colour temperature. That's a shot. Let's go to auto, see what auto does. Makes it a bit too saturated, I think. And so we'll go back to as shot, and maybe just put up a little bit. No, actually I think I'm just going to leave it where it is. It looks fine there. Within the tree area here, I might add in, actually I think it's really weird when you've got these perspective shifts. I'm going to go back to the lens correction here. I'm just not happy with, it's the rotation, I think that's annoying me. Yeah, it's a bit better. Because it was shot in a wide angle lens, I'm not going to get perfect, that's for sure. Could you get perfect? Well, absolutely you could. You could crop the picture in two and cut and paste and mask out half the building, etc, etc. And maybe we'll do that one day, but this here I'm quite happy with. And I think I'm quite happy with everything bar one little bit. I'm just want a little bit more detail in the leaves on the building. So I'm just sliding the clarity up, just a tiny bit saturation, 4 or 5, and mainly the reds I'm bringing up here. I'm not touching the door again, the reds in here. And there, that's that done in Camera Raw. And if you use a keyboard, if you tap the letter P, you'll see a before and after for what you've done in here. And all these small adjustments make a big adjustment, I feel. And so it's that a little bit straighter, the perspective's that a little bit better, colours are that little bit better, it looks more like a kind of summer day. After all, it was September, so we'll let Camera Raw do its thing here, and we're just going to back out a little bit, and just here you can see there's just a tiny bit of overlay from that. So now we're going back to the crop tool, and I'm just going to crop up just a touch. In this picture here, my main option was to keep some of the side of that house here, the blue, showing, and we'll go up just a little touch just to this. I can see a line there where Photoshop's tried to do a correction itself, and I'll maybe come in just to the edge of that stone there, just edge that wee bit of grass, and there we go. That's your finished picture, Liberton Kirk in Edinburgh. If you hold the Control and tap 0, we get the picture there. If I hit the F key on the keyboard, we'll get the full screen option, and hit it again, and then hit Control and 0, and that's the picture that will go to the printers for the album. I still think there's a little bit of a slope here, but again, if I look at the bottom of that door and I look at the bottom of that step, that's where I should be taking my line from. If you look at the bottom of that door and the bottom of that door, that one's clearly higher, but I think there is a step up into the church here. So there you go. I hope that's been helpful. See, the perspective crop tool, not used very much, but it's an excellent tool for straightening up pictures, especially if you've been fully wide on a wide angle lens. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. Do like and share. Sharing is good. Thank you. Bye.